What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Game Night. I'm your host, Apollo. This week I'm reviewing Murdered Soul Suspect. I played it on the PS4. Came out actually less than 2 weeks ago on June 3rd, 2014. It was made by Airtight Games. It's developed by Airtight Games, or published by Square Enix. Just to get right into it, I mean, the way I'd summarize the game is sort of a hot mess. Um, it's sort of a lot of interesting concepts that are not at all fully realized. It and it does feel, I don't know, it just feels so many unrealized ideas. Basically, the story revolves around a detective in the town of Salem, Massachusetts, named Ronan O'Connor. He is killed by this serial killer who's been plaguing the town for a while, known as the Bell Killer. Throws Ronan out of a window, shoots him. Ronan dies, and he comes back as a ghost. And that's the premise of the game. Basically, you're a ghost, and to basically move on, you have to basically solve your own death, which is an interesting premise, and that follows throughout the game. The mystery of solving the mystery is genuinely compelling, as are a lot of the other mysteries in the game, and you get to help other ghosts that you meet, sort of in this limbo that you're in. You get to help other ghosts as sort of side quests. And figure out how they died and help them get closure, and help them move on. And those mysteries really are compelling and really are interesting, and I did want to solve them. I think that's the best part of the game, is just the mystery and how well together that's put how well together that is just put together. You fight. You're fighting demons throughout the game. Those are really the only enemy. I mean, that's the thing. The game is not challenging at all. Most of most of it is scripted. The combat sequences are super simple. You're basically just taking on demons. The demons, of which their creature design of the demons is terrific. They are pretty creepy, and being pursued by them is pretty creepy as well. There's a cool gameplay sort of factor there, if a demon usually you take down a demon by holding down R2 on the PS4. And if you have to take down the demons from behind, and then press like one direction on the gamepad while simultaneously pressing another button, and that'll take them down. You have to do it pretty quickly to take them down. But if you don't take them down, or if they see you, they'll basically pursue you, and you can actually hide in these sort of pockets of other ghostly residue. It sounds kind of weird, but when you play it, it's actually pretty interesting. And I was really hoping that they'd sort of expand on that gameplay and grow it over the course of the game. But really, I mean, as soon as you do it, and as soon as you get the initial encounter is basically just duplicated several times throughout the game. There's not enough of it, and it really could have been expanded upon to make the combat a lot more fun. Because, as I said, the game really isn't challenging. You can get through it pretty quickly. It's also an easy platinum. And yeah, there are a lot of collectibles as well. There are notes strewn about by Ronan's deceased wife, which is kind of random. I mean, it's a strange form of exposition, because the notes are just in these just really strange places, like abandoned asylums, and abandoned buildings and museums, just these really random places where you're kind of wondering, why would the notes be here? Why would she be here? It's pretty weird, and it feels sort of strange. You also as you're trying to solve these mysteries, you're inspecting clues around crime scenes and such, and you're trying to put the pieces together, which again is just extremely. It's easy to the point where the conclusions are just always painfully obvious, and I found myself constantly coming up with a conclusion to each investigation long before collecting all the clues. And of course you have to collect either all or a majority of the clues to be able to piece it together. The way the game works is you have to have like either this really strange process of elimination system where you see all the clues on the screen and you have to pick either you usually either have to pick one that's the correct one, or you have to pick like three correct words describing the situation, describing the murder or whatever the crime that has taken place, or just pick the right clues. It's really, again, it's they're just so obvious. It's just kind of ridiculous. And even if you can't figure it out, I mean, again, it's just a process of elimination. So you just pick one, even if it's wrong, you just keep picking them until you inevitably come to the conclusion. So they're not really even puzzles at all. Just kind of chores, to be honest. The town of Salem, it's a cool setting, and the game is very atmospheric. It's you have some creepy levels, some creepy environments and such. But the town of Salem, and the town of Salem is interesting, but it's the way the level design is laid out is very strange. Basically, as a ghost, you can pass through lots of different objects. Like you have a lot of different powers, like influencing people, possessing them, going through walls, teleporting. So you get a lot of cool powers, but again, you don't get to, because the gameplay is not like, they don't expand on the gameplay of the combat too much, and everything's so easy and scripted. You really don't feel, I don't know, it just really, they could have just done so much more with it, and that applies to the town of Salem as well. A lot of places are blocked off, because the game's rationale for that is, because some parts of the town have been cordoned off as sacred, consecrated by the citizens of Salem, you can't pass through them as a ghost. Inside buildings, you can usually pass through most objects and walls, but again, even then, there are just random sections of walls you can't pass through, and it's really strange the way they do it. Like if there's a church level, and there's just random busted up brick walls in the middle of a hallway that you can't pass through, and that's sort of they justify that by the whole consecration, the whole, it's sacred, but it's just like, why is this here? Random debris in the middle of an alley makes it so you can't pass by. It's just the way they basically limit it. Not only does it severely limit the exploration, but the exploration is just extremely just shepherded. Like it's pretty much just there. There's just enough of that exploration element, just enough to collect the collectibles. That's it. Like you want to do anything else, you can't. And to make it even worse, like there's some sections that you just can't go to. Like it's not even, an object or a wall or a piece of debris or whatever is blocking the path, and it's consecrated by the citizens of Salem. But it's just literally, you just go there, and it's this classic, oh, I'm going to turn around, I can't go here yet, I better turn back, and it just doesn't let you proceed. It's pretty ridiculous, and it's poor, lazy game design, or level design. Yeah, I mean, that's a majority of what Murdered Soul Suspect is. I actually it's not one of those games where I felt like I had to just sort of just grit my teeth and get through it, because it was just, I hate this. But no, it was like, I actually enjoyed the game. Like I said, the mystery is compelling. Voice acting is decent. But it was just, I don't know, it just kind of, it's one of those experiences you just kind of float through, and it's pretty forgettable. Yeah, I mean, so that, oh, okay, so there's a lot, and I mean a lot, like loads and loads of, for one, there's loads and loads of recycled NPCs, and character models, sometimes literally in the same scene or same area. Like you'll go to, you'll walk 5 feet, you'll see one character, one NPC that looks one way. You'll turn around, walk 10 feet, and the exact same character model is reused in the exact same area. It's so strange. The game overall, and it happens constantly. I mean, you'll see 3 or 4 of the same recycled NPCs in a single 20-foot radius. It's pretty ridiculous. and the game. I mean that sort of concept of just lazy, poor game design, and just I mean the game feels very very early last gen, very a game that would come out in like 2005 2006, and even then wouldn't have been terrifically done by any means. I mean the load screens are just torturously long, aside from places where you can't go like I mentioned before because of the whole sacred whatever. There's that, but then there's also just every section of the town, whether you're going into the police station, the museum, or the cemetery, all the other areas of the game, all the other levels, each one is cordoned off by another loading screen. And it's very outdated. It's really hard to believe that this game is on the PS4, or even really the PS3, this late in the PS3's life cycle. The game feels like it should be, 7 or 8 years old. Sorry, there's a moth. But yeah, and that sort of just carries over to pretty much every area of the game. Um, yeah, I mean, it's not an ugly game either, but the visuals they're certainly not spectacular, not even really impressive either. Yeah, I mean, I'd say that about sums up Murdered Soul Suspect. Aside from just the mysteries that they present you with, everything else is pretty much. I would just pass on it unless you're super super into the atmosphere and you know yeah. I mean, I'd say just. But I mean, yeah, there you go. That's my take on Murdered Soul Suspect. I'm gonna give it a 6.7 out of 10. I'm Apollo. This has been Game Night. That was Murdered Soul Suspect, and I will see you guys and girls next week or next time.